Niger's newly instated junta issues another statement warning that any aggression towards Niger will be met with immediate and unannounced response.
The army supporters gathered at the French embassy in Niamey, hundreds of them. They set fire to the embassy's door. They also burned the French flag.
The European Union has cut off financial aid to Niger.
Until recently, Western powers like France, the U.S., and other European nations were heavily involved in Niger's politics. They've been using their allies in Africa, like Nigeria and the ECOWAS group, to pressure Niger's military leaders, even threatening a military invasion. But Niger's military head, Abdurrahman Chiani, stayed quiet through it all. What no one realized was that he was actually planning behind the scenes.
So, these terrorists are currently benefiting from material support, financial support, and training support from France.
Instead of backing down when threatened, he increased the country's military presence. But now he's taken it even further. To strike back at France, Nigeria, ECOWAS, and the entire Western Bloc, Niger has made a bold move that could shake the foundation of European prosperity. What did they do? And how could this hurt Europe so badly? Stick around, because this might just be a turning point in African history. Whenever African countries have tried to break free from Western control, the West usually stepped in with threats and pressure to stop them. But this time, the script has flipped. After the military coup in Niger, Europe, especially France, tried everything to undo it, using ECOWAS as their tool. They were so confident that they even threatened to invade Niger, but they underestimated the position Niger was in. The country was in a strong spot, and with one bold move, it had the power to hit back at Nigeria, ECOWAS, France, and all of Europe. The first target was Nigeria, seen as the biggest supporter of Western influence in Africa. Since Nigerian President Bola Tinubu was pushing for an invasion and even asked Parliament for approval, Niger's military leaders decided to punish Nigeria first. So they announced an immediate stop to all exports of liquefied petroleum gas, LPG, also known as cooking gas, until further notice. According to Reuters, Niger's government said they needed to keep more gas for local use to meet growing demand at home. They added that gas exports could continue only if there's extra supply. Niger mainly exports this gas to Nigeria, and the two countries had signed a gas trade agreement back in 2020. The gas trade agreement between Niger and Nigeria was once considered a big success, with both countries' petroleum ministers involved. But things changed quickly when Nigeria took a strong stance against Niger's new military government. In response, Niger cut off its supply of liquefied petroleum gas, LPG, to Nigeria, at a time when Nigeria badly needs it. LPG is essential in Nigeria for cooking, heating, and even fueling vehicles. Prices have already jumped from 750 to 1,000 naira per kilogram, and the Nigerian Association of LPG Marketers warned that global market shifts and exchange rate issues are making things worse.
Marketers of liquefied petroleum gas in Nigeria have blamed the high cost of the commodity on poor supply.
Meanwhile, Niger is planning to put its extra gas to use at home. This decision has been welcomed by its citizens. To ease transportation struggles caused by fuel subsidy cuts, Niger State's Governor Mohamed Bago announced that the state has purchased 200 buses powered by compressed natural gas. He revealed this during a dinner with House of Representatives press corps in Minna, the state capital. The governor also shared plans to sign an agreement with a rice processing plant in Kano to directly buy rice grown in Niger State. These moves are part of a broader infrastructure development plan, which includes building over 560 kilometers of new roads across the state. But behind the scenes, this cutoff of gas to Nigeria isn't just about trade, it's political. Niger sees Nigerian President Bola Tinubu as the person who pushed ECOWAS to interfere in Niger's internal matters. Tinubu even formally asked Nigeria's parliament to approve military action against Niger. So it's no surprise Niger is treating him and Nigeria with suspicion. After Tinubu's push, ECOWAS said that a military intervention in Niger was still on the table, though only as a last resort. In turn, Nigeria tried to increase the pressure by cutting off electricity to Niger. At the same time, military leaders from across West Africa gathered in Abuja, Nigeria's capital, to discuss their next move. A team was also sent to Niger to try and talk things through. All of this happened just 1 week after the coup that shook Niger. In response, ECOWAS placed trade and financial sanctions on the country, giving the coup leaders a 1-week deadline to return power to the elected president or face possible military action. ECOWAS official Abdel Fattah Musa said force would be the last option, but one they had to be ready for. An ECOWAS team, led by former Nigerian President Abdul Salami Abubakar, began negotiations with Niger's leaders. As ECOWAS chair, Nigeria is taking the lead in cracking down on the rising number of coups in West Africa since 2020. One of its first moves was cutting off electricity to Niger. According to Niger's own power company, Nigelec, the country depends on Nigeria for about 70% of its electricity, so this was a big blow. Meanwhile, Niger's neighbors Mali and Burkina Faso, both also ruled by military juntas, warned that if ECOWAS invades Niger, they'll treat it as a declaration of war. Russia also spoke up, calling for a peaceful dialogue instead of threats. The Russian government warned that military intervention could drag the region into a long and dangerous conflict. They were especially alarmed after ECOWAS said it was preparing a standby military force. Russia's foreign ministry said this kind of move would destabilize the entire Sahel region. On the other hand, the U.S. supported efforts to bring back Niger's ousted president, Mohamed Bazoum. U.S. officials also claimed that Wagner Group, Russia's private military company, was using the chaos to expand its influence. Back in Niger, protests broke out. Coup supporters, some waving Russian flags, gathered near a French military base in the capital, Niamey, shouting slogans like, "Down with France" and "Down with ECOWAS." ECOWAS leaders said they were still open to a peaceful solution, but Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu made it clear that military force was still an option if all else failed. The U.S. didn't openly support using military force, but urged Niger's junta to step down and restore democracy. But Niger wasn't only trying to punish Nigeria. Because France and the rest of Europe backed ECOWAS's intervention, Niger sent a warning to Europe too. They said if any European country interferes in Niger's internal affairs, they'll shut down the Trans-Saharan gas pipeline. This pipeline is a big deal for Europe. Why? Because it was designed to supply Europe with gas and help reduce their reliance on Russian energy. The project was first proposed back in the 1970s. In 2002, Nigeria and Algeria's state oil companies signed an agreement to start planning the pipeline. By 2005, a British company, Penspin Limited, was brought in to conduct a feasibility study, and by 2006, it was confirmed as a viable project. In 2009, Nigeria, Algeria, and Niger signed a major agreement in Abuja to make the pipeline a reality. Niger's location makes it essential. It sits between Nigeria and Algeria, serving as a key link in the route to Europe. For this project to work, Nigeria must build a pipeline that runs through Niger and into Algeria, where it can then deliver gas straight to Europe. If Niger decides to back out, the entire Trans-Saharan gas pipeline project will fall apart. On July 28, 2022, energy ministers from Algeria, Nigeria, and Niger signed an agreement showing real progress toward building the pipeline. The route starts in Nigeria's Wari region, moves north through Niger, and ends in Hassi R'Mel, Algeria. From there, the gas would connect to several existing pipelines, including the Trans-Mediterranean, Maghreb-Europe, Medgaz, and Galsi pipelines, that send gas from Algeria's coast directly to Europe. The pipeline is expected to stretch a total of 4,128 kilometers, 1,037 kilometers in Nigeria, 841 kilometers in Niger, and 2,310 kilometers in Algeria. But here's the catch. If Niger pulls out, the whole project crashes because the pipeline has to pass through Niger. It's designed to carry up to 30 billion cubic meters of gas per year, with a pipe diameter between 48 and 56 inches. It was originally supposed to go live by 2015, with an estimated $10 billion in pipeline construction costs and another $3 billion for the gas gathering stations. The pipeline would be managed as a joint venture between Nigeria's NNPC, Algeria's Sonatrach, and the Niger government. Originally, NNPC and Sonatrach would hold 90% of the shares, and Niger would hold 10%. Quick reminder, if you're enjoying this content, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more videos on Black culture, history, and identity. Several big international energy companies, including Russia's Gazprom, India's GAIL, France's Total, Italy's Eni, and Shell, have shown interest in joining the project. But the energy ministers from Nigeria and Algeria made it clear, financial investment isn't enough. Any partners must also bring in serious technical expertise. In June 2022, the three countries revived this long-stalled project to build a massive pipeline that would link Nigeria's huge natural gas reserves to Algeria's export hub on the Mediterranean. If it goes ahead, it'll open up major business opportunities for companies involved in everything from design and construction to pipeline technology. American suppliers in particular are looking to get in on the action. They could offer services like gas compressors, pipeline sections, trenching machines, welding, inspection systems, corrosion protection, flow meters, and more. So this pipeline isn't just a lifeline for Europe. It could be a huge business deal for the U.S. too. But none of it will happen without Niger. Their participation is absolutely critical to making this pipeline dream a reality. Because Europe has chosen to oppose Niger, the future of the Trans-Saharan gas pipeline, a project that could open major access to Europe's energy market, is now in serious doubt. After the July military coup in Niger, the Nigeria-led ECOWAS bloc even considered sending in troops. But it's not Niger putting the pipeline at risk. It's actually Nigeria, ECOWAS, and Europe themselves. Some experts believe that Algeria's push to mediate the crisis is less about diplomacy and more about protecting the pipeline. Meanwhile, Mali and Burkina Faso, also ruled by military juntas, have promised to back Niger if ECOWAS invades, adding more pressure to an already tense situation. The message is clear. Europe, Nigeria, Algeria, and ECOWAS need to stop being confrontational and start negotiating peacefully. The future of the pipeline depends entirely on Niger's cooperation. If Niger feels trapped or attacked, it could activate its military pact with Mali and Burkina Faso and sabotage the pipeline altogether. That would be a serious blow, not just politically, but economically. Because for Europe, the Trans-Saharan gas pipeline isn't just important, it's essential. With its relationship with Russia in tatters, Europe is desperate for a stable new energy supply, especially for natural gas. The TSGP offers exactly that. It promises to carry up to 30 billion cubic meters of gas every year from Nigeria, through Niger, and into Algeria. From there, gas could be shipped to Europe via the undersea Trans-Mediterranean pipeline or loaded onto LNG tankers. But not everyone is optimistic. Some energy experts doubt that gas from Africa will actually reach Europe anytime soon. Nigerian finance expert Isaac Badi says political instability and lack of commitment could delay the project by a decade or more. And there's a deeper issue. While Europe wants African gas, it also keeps interfering in African politics. That contradiction makes cooperation with Niger almost impossible. Europe can't expect Niger, a country it now treats like an enemy, to just play along. Unlike Europe, Algeria seems to understand the value of the pipeline. They see it as a long-term economic win for all countries involved. But Nigeria's president has taken a very different route. Rather than focusing on fixing problems at home or supporting the pipeline, he's made Niger an enemy, going as far as asking his parliament to approve a military invasion. This unexpected move by Nigeria's president shocked many experts and put the country's energy future at risk. The Trans-Saharan gas pipeline was supposed to be a game-changer, allowing Nigeria to sell huge amounts of natural gas to Europe. Most of this gas would come from the Niger Delta, a coastal region that's not only home to Africa's biggest oil reserves, but also massive deposits of natural gas. Nigeria is already Africa's second-largest natural gas exporter after Algeria. But without the pipeline, those resources can't reach international markets, especially Europe, which could suffer the most from the fallout. In 2021, Europe relied heavily on natural gas, using it in nearly every area from electricity production to heating and transportation. To break it down, fossil fuels made up 76% of Europe's energy that year. Gas alone accounted for 34%, oil 31%, and coal 11%. Renewables like wind, solar, and biofuels only made up 14%, while nuclear energy contributed the remaining 10%. In other words, Europe runs on gas, and it especially depended on cheap Russian gas for years, which shaped the continent's entire energy infrastructure, especially in countries like Germany. That's why the disruption in gas supply from Russia following the war in Ukraine has left Europe scrambling. The Trans-Saharan gas pipeline now looks like one of the only serious alternatives. Europe is actually the world's biggest importer of natural gas. Just 5 countries, Russia, Germany, the UK, Italy, and France, used up 75% of the gas that powered Europe's total energy in 2021, a whopping 10,073 terawatt hours. The energy crisis led to massive spending. Germany rolled out a $65 billion package to help people and businesses handle the rising energy costs. Italy approved $17 billion in aid to keep prices under control, and French President Emmanuel Macron pushed for more renewable energy and reforms to Europe's electricity system. In this context, the Trans-Saharan pipeline isn't just a good idea. It's a necessity, but political tensions are standing in the way. France's involvement in African affairs, particularly in Niger, has worsened the situation. Niger has already made its position clear. It's serious about cutting ties if Europe doesn't back off. The country has already stopped exporting LPG, liquefied petroleum gas, to Nigeria, a major move since it depends on that revenue. This isn't just talk. Niger is following through. Europe originally wanted the pipeline to lessen its dependence on Russian gas. Now, with the collapse of Nord Stream 1 and 2, it has no other real options. That puts Europe in a very weak position, without leverage and desperate for gas. Nord Stream 1 and 2 weren't just pipelines. They were lifelines for Europe's energy security. With them now out of commission, Europe is exposed to a dangerous mix of rising costs, limited supply, and increasing dependence on politically unstable regions. The Nord Stream pipelines once played a crucial role in powering Europe. Germany, Europe's economic engine, got about 35% of its gas from Nord Stream, and other countries like Poland and Austria also relied heavily on it. Russian gas was cheaper than other sources like liquefied natural gas, helping keep Europe's economy strong and people's energy bills affordable. Because the gas came directly through pipelines, it avoided issues in transit countries, making it a reliable and secure energy source. But this dependence gave Russia a lot of political power. Gas exports became a tool for influence, helping Russia shape regional politics. That balance began to break in 2022. First, Nord Stream 1 slowed down drastically, with Russia blaming technical problems and others suspecting sabotage. Meanwhile, Nord Stream 2 never even went online. Germany froze its approval after Russia invaded Ukraine. This collapse of the Nord Stream system exposed how fragile Europe's energy situation really is. Now Europe is facing an energy crisis, with gas prices soaring and hurting both businesses and regular families. With no other strong alternatives, the Trans-Saharan gas pipeline has become Europe's last hope. But Niger controls the pipeline's key middle section, and that gives it all the power. France has taken the lead in trying to reverse the military coup in Niger, making it the focus of attention from other European countries. But here's the twist. Because the pipeline is so important to Europe, Niger suddenly holds more bargaining power than ever before. That's a huge shift in global politics. Africa's usually been on the weaker side in these deals, but not anymore. Some European countries are already breaking ranks with France. Italy, for example, is siding with Africa. Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni has openly criticized France, accusing it of using colonial-era currency systems to keep African countries like Burkina Faso economically tied to it. She even claimed that 50% of Burkina Faso's exports end up in France's treasury. Niger's simple threat to pull out of the gas pipeline project has already caused shockwaves across Europe. For the first time, an African country like Niger holds the upper hand. That's something we've never seen before. So what do you think? Was Niger right to cancel its gas and oil plans with Europe? Can Niger really choke Europe's energy supply and cause Nigeria huge losses too? Let us know what you think in the comments below. And if you want more videos like this about Black culture, forgotten histories, lost civilizations, and untold truths, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon. We're sharing stories the mainstream doesn't. Thanks for watching, and until next time, stay tuned.